Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to today's storytelling journey. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let your imagination open its wings. Today's story is called The Little Village That Forgot to Dream. It's a heartwarming tale about hope, courage, and the power of believing in something beautiful, even when the world seems quiet and gray. Today's story is called The Little Village That Forgot to Dream. It's a heartwarming tale about hope, courage, and the power of believing in something beautiful, even when the world seems quiet and gray. Once in a tiny village where no one dared to dream anymore, a young boy named Leo discovered a mysterious old storyteller and a glowing dreamstone that could change everything. So, sit back, relax, and let this story fill your heart. This is a story about finding light, even when the sky is cloudy. There once was a small village named Marydale, hidden between tall green hills and quiet rivers. From far away, it looked like a picture. Little houses with red roofs, narrow streets lined with flowers, and smoke rising softly from the chimneys in the evening. The air was always calm there, too calm. Because, even though Marydale was peaceful, it was also a place that had forgotten to dream. Long ago, Marydale was full of joy. Children ran through the fields chasing butterflies and clouds. Old men sat under the oak trees, telling stories about magical lands and brave heroes. The baker, Mr. Oliver, used to sing while making his bread. The teacher, Miss June, taught songs as well as numbers. Every evening, people gathered in the square and shared their dreams for tomorrow. But that was long ago. Now the streets were quiet. People went to work early in the morning and returned home late at night. They still smiled politely, but the smiles did not reach their eyes. The children no longer played in the fields. They stayed inside, helping their parents or sitting silently by the window. The baker no longer sang, and Miss June had stopped telling stories in her class. No one in Marydale talked about dreams anymore, but one boy still wondered about it, a boy named Leo. Leo was 10 years old. He lived with his parents in a small wooden house near the river. He liked to sit by the window at night, looking at the stars. Sometimes he would whisper to the sky, "Do you still remember our dreams?" His parents were kind people, but very busy. His father worked as a carpenter, making tables and chairs all day. His mother took care of the garden and cooked for the family. They loved Leo very much, but they didn't have time for stories or dreams. One evening, while helping his mother wash dishes, Leo asked softly, "Mama, why don't people talk about dreams anymore?" She smiled, tired but gentle, and said, "Dreams are for children, Leo. When you grow up, you will have work to do. You'll see that dreams don't help you buy food or fix a broken chair." Leo frowned. "But dreams make people happy, don't they?" His mother sighed and said, "Maybe, but happiness doesn't pay the bills, my boy." Leo didn't answer. He looked out the window, where the stars blinked faintly through the clouds. He felt sad. He didn't understand why grown-ups stopped believing in something so beautiful. The next morning, Leo went to the village square. He saw people walking quickly, carrying baskets and tools. Nobody looked up to greet each other. Nobody laughed. He went to the bakery and saw Mr. Oliver, who was kneading bread silently. His eyes looked tired. Leo smiled and said cheerfully, "Good morning, Mr. Oliver. Your bread smells amazing today." The baker looked up and smiled weakly. "Thank you, Leo. You're a kind boy. I used to make all kinds of funny bread shapes when I was younger. Animals, stars, even faces. The children loved them." Leo's eyes widened. "Why don't you make them anymore?" The baker laughed quietly. No time for that now. People want simple bread. Nothing special. It's just work." Leo watched him for a moment and then said softly, "Maybe if you made the funny bread again, people would smile." But the baker only shook his head and kept kneading the dough. Later that day, Leo walked past the school. He saw Miss June standing by the window, her hands resting on her desk. She looked lonely. Leo went inside and said politely, "Hello, Miss June." She turned and smiled. "Hello, Leo. Shouldn't you be at home now?" "I just wanted to say hi. I was remembering the story you told last year, the one about the talking bird. It was wonderful." Miss June sighed. "I haven't told a story in a long time. The children don't listen anymore. They only care about finishing their lessons." "But I would listen," Leo said softly. Her eyes softened, and she patted his head. "You're a sweet boy, Leo. Maybe one day, when people have time again, I'll tell stories once more." Leo nodded, but his heart felt heavy. He walked home slowly, thinking about how everyone seemed to have lost a piece of themselves. That night, Leo sat outside his house again. The moon was full, and the air smelled of wet grass. He looked up at the sky, searching for stars. Most nights, the stars looked dull. But tonight, something was different. A bright shooting star crossed the sky, long and shining like a silver ribbon. Leo gasped. "Wow!" He closed his eyes quickly and whispered, "I wish my village could dream again. I wish people could smile and tell stories like before." When he opened his eyes, the star had vanished. The night grew quiet again, but Leo felt something strange, a warm feeling in his chest, as if someone had heard him. He didn't know it yet, but his wish had just begun to come true. The next morning, the air felt different. The sky looked a little brighter, and the sound of birds filled the trees. As Leo walked through the village, he thought, maybe something good will happen today. He didn't know how, but he believed it with all his heart. Because even in a place that had forgotten how to dream, there was still one small heart, brave enough to believe again. And sometimes that's all it takes to wake a whole village. The next morning, Marydale looked calm as usual. The sun rose over the hills, painting the roofs of the little houses in golden light. People were already busy, sweeping the streets, feeding animals, carrying baskets to the market. But Leo woke up feeling excited. He didn't know why, but he felt that something special was waiting for him that day. After breakfast, Leo decided to walk beyond the fields, a place where the tall grass grew wild and few people ever went anymore. He liked that place because it was quiet. He could hear the birds sing and the river whisper softly nearby. As he walked, he thought about the night before, the shooting star and the wish he made. He wondered if wishes really came true. He kicked a small stone along the path and said aloud, "Maybe I should dream for everyone in the village, if they don't know how." Just then, he noticed something unusual ahead. Under a large oak tree, someone was sitting. An old man with silver hair, a long coat, and a hat that looked as old as the hills themselves. He had a kind face, a beard white as snow, and eyes that sparkled like stars. Beside him was a leather bag filled with books and papers. Leo walked closer and said politely, "Good morning, sir. I haven't seen you before. Are you from this village?" The man looked up and smiled warmly. "Good morning, young one. No, I'm just passing through. My name is Elder Finn. I'm a storyteller." "A storyteller?" Leo's eyes widened. "I've never met a real one." The old man chuckled softly. "Oh, there used to be storytellers everywhere. But now few people listen. The world has grown too busy for stories." Leo nodded sadly. "That's true here too. In Marydale, nobody dreams or tells stories anymore." Elder Finn looked at him carefully. "And what about you, young dreamer? Do you still believe in stories?" Leo smiled shyly. "Yes, I do. I think stories make life brighter. I even made a wish last night that my village could dream again." Elder Finn's eyes twinkled. "Ah, wishes are powerful things, Leo. When you wish with your heart, the universe listens." The old man opened his bag and took out a small object wrapped in soft cloth. He unwrapped it slowly, and inside was a round stone that shimmered faintly with colors like moonlight. Leo stared in wonder. "What is it?" "This," said Elder Finn, "is a dream stone. It holds the memory of 1,000 dreams. It glows only when someone truly believes." He placed the stone gently into Leo's hands. It felt warm, almost alive. "But what am I supposed to do with it?" Leo asked. Elder Finn smiled. "You will know when the time comes. Go back to your people. Remind them what they once loved. When they start dreaming again, the stone will glow brighter." Leo looked down at the stone, then back at the old man. "Can it really make people dream again?" "No," said Elder Finn softly. "Only you can do that. The stone will only help you see who still remembers how to dream." Leo sat beside the storyteller for hours. Elder Finn told him tales of faraway lands, of cities built on clouds, forests that sang at night, and rivers made of silver light. His voice was calm and warm, like a campfire on a cold evening. Leo listened with shining eyes. He forgot about time, forgot about hunger. He just listened and dreamed. "Do you really believe these places exist?" Leo asked. Elder Finn chuckled. "Maybe they do. Or maybe they exist only in our hearts. But that's the magic of dreams. They make us see what could be, not just what is." Leo smiled, repeating softly, "What could be, not just what is." The wind wrestled through the oak leaves, almost like the tree was whispering the same words. After some time, Elder Finn stood up and picked up his bag. "It's getting late, young dreamer. I must continue my journey." Leo jumped up to his feet. "Wait! Will you come to Merrydale? Will you tell your stories to everyone? Maybe then they'll start to dream again." The old man looked toward the village and shook his head gently. "No, Leo. The people must remember the power of dreams by themselves. My stories would only fade away like smoke in the wind. But your words, your heart, will last." He placed a hand on Leo's shoulder.
Keep believing, Leo. When the time is right, this stone will guide you. Leo wanted to ask more, but at that very moment, a cool breeze swept through the field. He blinked as the wind grew stronger, and when he opened his eyes, Elder Finn was gone. All that remained was the quiet sound of leaves and the soft glow of the dreamstone in his palm. Leo walked back home slowly, still holding the shining stone. It pulsed faintly in his hand, as if it were breathing. He couldn't stop smiling. "Maybe I really can help the village dream again," he whispered. When he reached home, his mother was waiting at the door. "Where have you been all day, Leo? I was worried." "I met a storyteller," he said excitedly. "He gave me this." He showed her the stone, but in her eyes, it just looked like an ordinary pebble. "It's lovely," she said kindly, though she didn't really understand. "Now wash your hands, dinner's ready." Leo nodded, but as he turned away, the stone shimmered softly again, just for him. That night, Leo placed the dreamstone on his windowsill. Outside, the moonlight touched it gently, making it glow brighter. He whispered, "I don't know how yet, but I'll find a way to make everyone remember their dreams." The wind carried his words softly through the village, past the baker's shop, the empty schoolyard, and the quiet houses. And though nobody knew it yet, something inside Merrydale had begun to change. A small spark, tiny but alive, had returned to the heart of the village. Morning sunlight poured softly through Leo's window. The dreamstone still rested on the windowsill, glowing faintly under the light of dawn. Leo smiled the moment he saw it. He whispered, "Good morning, little stone. I think today will be special." He dressed quickly and ran outside, the cool air brushing his face. Something inside him felt different, strong and bright. Today, he was going to help Merrydale remember its dreams. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more relaxing English stories and bedtime tales. Your support helps us keep creating peaceful and inspiring stories, just like this one. Now, let's return to Leo's journey and see what happens next in the little village that forgot to dream. Leo's first stop was the bakery. The warm smell of bread and butter filled the air, but the shop looked quiet as always. Mr. Oliver, the baker, stood behind the counter, dusted with flour. "Good morning, Mr. Oliver," Leo said cheerfully. "Good morning, Leo." He gave a tired smile. "You're up early today." Leo nodded. "I wanted to see you make bread. Can I watch?" "Of course, but there's not much to see, just flour, dough, and hard work." Leo leaned closer to the table where Mr. Oliver was shaping loaves. The dreamstone in Leo's pocket began to glow softly. "Mr. Oliver," Leo asked suddenly, "what kind of bread did you like to make when you were little?" The baker paused, His hands froze for a moment. "When I was little?" he repeated softly. "Yes, before you worked here. What did you love to bake back then?" The baker smiled faintly, his eyes drifting far away. "Ah, I used to make funny breads. Bread shaped like cats, stars, and even faces. Children laughed every time they saw them." Leo grinned. "That sounds amazing! Why don't you make them again?" The baker chuckled, shaking his head. "Oh, Leo, people don't have time for silly bread anymore. They just want something simple to eat." Leo looked serious. "But maybe they need something silly to smile again." The baker looked at him for a long time, and then, slowly, he smiled. That afternoon, he made 3 loaves of bread, one shaped like a cat, one like a moon, and one like a laughing face. When the children of the village saw them in the window, they laughed loudly for the first time in years. Mr. Oliver felt something warm rise inside him, something he had forgotten. That night, as he closed the shop, he whispered to himself, "Maybe dreams do matter after all." And far away in his house, the dream stone in Leo's room glowed brighter. The next day, Leo went to the school. He could hear Miss June's voice through the window, quiet, tired, explaining numbers and spelling. When the lesson ended, Leo walked inside. "Good morning, Miss June," he said politely. "Good morning, Leo," she replied with a kind smile. "What brings you here?" "I wanted to ask something. Do you still sing?" Miss June blinked in surprise. "Sing? Oh, no, not for many years. There's no time for songs now." Leo shook his head. "But I remember you used to sing stories. The one about the bird who learned to fly in the rain, I loved that one." Miss June's eyes softened. "You remember that?" "Of course! It made everyone happy." Miss June looked out the window. For a long time she said nothing. Then she took a deep breath, straightened her back, and said softly, "Maybe one song won't hurt." She walked to the front of the empty classroom and began to sing, her voice a little shaky at first, but soon it grew strong, clear and full of feeling. The melody floated through the open window, and children playing outside stopped to listen. Even the birds seemed to sing along. Leo smiled. The dream stone in his pocket glowed again, warmer this time, as if it were singing too. A few days later, Leo visited the fields. There he met Mr. Thomas, a tall farmer with strong arms and a serious face. He was planting seeds in long, straight rows. "Hello, Mr. Thomas," Leo called. "Hello, young man," said the farmer. "What brings you out here?" "I was just thinking," said Leo. "You work so hard every day. Don't you ever get tired?" The farmer laughed. "Of course I do. But that's life, isn't it? Work, eat, sleep, repeat." Leo tilted his head. "Was it always your dream to be a farmer?" Mr. Thomas smiled, but looked away. "Not really. When I was a boy, I wanted to be a painter. I loved colors, the sky, the flowers, everything. But there was no time for painting once I grew up." Leo thought for a moment and said, "The fields are full of colors. Green, yellow, gold. Maybe you're already painting, just in a different way."
The farmer looked surprised. Then slowly, a smile spread across his face. That evening, he found an old paintbrush in his attic. He painted the sunset on a piece of wood, red, orange, and gold, and hung it on the barn wall. When people passed by, they stopped and admired it. And for the first time in years, Mr. Thomas laughed out loud. Every time someone in the village remembered their dream, the dreamstone grew brighter. At night, Leo would hold it close and whisper, "One more dream came back today." The stone pulsed softly in his hands, like a heartbeat. He could feel the village changing, little by little, smile by smile. Children began to play again. People talked a bit longer at the market. The air felt lighter, as if the whole village was beginning to wake up from a long, deep sleep. But not everyone was happy about it. Some of the older villagers frowned when they saw people laughing again. They said, "Dreams won't fix our problems. We need real work, not silly songs and stories." Leo heard their words, but he didn't lose hope. He knew dreams didn't replace work. They gave it meaning. He looked up at the sky one night and whispered, "Please, Elder Finn, help me keep the light alive." The wind moved softly through the trees, almost like a whisper in reply. "You're doing well, young dreamer. Keep going." And so, the dreamstone glowed brighter than ever, lighting up Leo's room like a tiny star. The little boy had no idea that soon a dark storm would come to test everything he had started. But for now, Marydale was smiling again, because dreams were slowly returning home. Days passed, and Marydale began to change. Children laughed in the streets again. The baker made smiling bread every morning. Miss June taught songs as well as spelling. And Mr. Thomas painted small pictures on the sides of his barn, turning the field into a gallery of colors. Everywhere Leo went, people smiled at him. Some said, "It's that boy! He brought joy back to the village." Leo felt proud, not proud like showing off, but proud like sunlight glowing in his heart. The dreamstone shone brighter every night, filling his room with gentle light. But as the light of dreams grew stronger, so did the shadows of doubt. One morning, while Leo was walking through the square, the mayor called him over. The mayor was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He was known for being serious and practical. "Leo," he said in a deep voice, "I've been hearing about what you've been doing." Leo smiled. "Yes, sir. People are remembering their dreams again. Isn't it wonderful?" The mayor crossed his arms. "Wonderful, perhaps, but I'm not sure this dreaming business is good for the village." Leo frowned. "Why not?" "Because people are wasting time," said the mayor. "Mr. Oliver spends hours making funny bread instead of baking enough for the market. Miss June sings songs when she should be teaching. Mr. Thomas paints instead of planting. If everyone keeps dreaming, who will do the work?" Leo's smile faded. "But people are happy again." "Happiness doesn't build houses or grow food," said the mayor firmly. Dreams are for children, Leo. Adults must deal with reality. The words stung. Leo looked down at the ground, speechless. The mayor turned away and said, "If this continues, you'll fill the village with foolishness." For the first time since meeting Elder Finn, Leo felt uncertain. He looked at the dreamstone. It was still glowing, but a little dimmer than before. That evening, dark clouds gathered over Marydale. The sky turned gray, and the wind began to howl. People rushed home, closing windows and doors. By nightfall, a heavy storm swept through the village. Rain crashed against the roofs. Lightning flashed across the hills. The wind screamed through the trees. Leo ran to the window and watched as branches broke and water filled the streets. He saw Mr. Oliver trying to cover his bakery with a tarp. He saw Miss June helping children find shelter. He saw Mr. Thomas running to save his crops from flooding. The whole village was in chaos. Leo pressed the dreamstone to his chest and whispered, "Please help them. Please make it stop." But the stone stayed dark. No light, no warmth. Only the sound of thunder. By midnight, the storm grew even stronger. The roof above Leo's room began to leak, dripping water onto the floor. His parents worked to block the windows with wood. Leo sat on his bed, trembling. He had never seen such a storm. And the dreamstone, the stone that once glowed so brightly, now lay in his hand, completely still. He began to cry. "I thought I was helping. I thought dreams could make everything better. But I was wrong." He looked out at the dark sky and shouted, "Elder Finn! You said dreams were powerful. Where are you now?" No answer came. Only the roar of the wind. Leo curled up and closed his eyes. Tears mixed with the rain that dripped from the ceiling. He whispered, "Maybe the mayor was right. Maybe dreams can't fix anything." Slowly, he fell asleep holding the cold, lifeless stone in his hand. Late that night, as the storm began to calm, a soft voice echoed in Leo's dream. It was gentle, warm, the voice of Elder Finn. "Leo?" Leo opened his eyes inside the dream. He was standing in a field of stars. The old storyteller stood before him, smiling kindly. "Elder Finn! The village is in trouble. The storm destroyed everything, and the dreamstone has stopped glowing." Elder Finn nodded slowly. "Yes, Leo, the storm came, not to destroy your dreams, but to test them." Leo's eyes filled with tears. "But I thought dreaming was enough to make people happy." "Dreams are not magic, my boy," said the old man softly. "They cannot stop storms or fix broken roofs, but they give people the strength to rebuild, the courage to start again." Leo looked at the ground. "Then what should I do?" Elder Finn placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remind them again, Leo. Help them see that even after the storm, their dreams still matter. A real dream doesn't die in the rain." Then, as gently as he appeared, Elder Finn began to fade into the light. "Believe, Leo, and they will believe too." The dream dissolved into silver mist. When Leo woke up, the storm had passed. The sky was clear and pale blue. The village was quiet, but not broken. He ran outside and saw people stepping out of their homes, looking around at the fallen branches and muddy roads. Roofs were damaged, fences were broken, but everyone was alive. Leo held the dreamstone close. It was still dull but warm again, just a little. He took a deep breath and said softly, "Elder Finn was right. Dreams don't stop storms, but they help us find hope after one." He walked toward the village square, ready to speak to everyone, ready to remind them once more what it truly meant to dream. Morning sunlight poured over Marydell like golden honey. After the terrible storm, the air smelled of rain and earth. The village looked broken, but alive. Smoke rose gently from a few chimneys, and the sound of hammers echoed as people began to repair their homes. Leo stood in the middle of the square. He looked around and saw tired faces. The baker's shop roof was half gone. Miss June's school windows were broken. Mr. Thomas's field was muddy and flat. Everyone was working hard, but no one was smiling. It was as if the storm had washed away not only their roofs, but also their hope. Leo took the dreamstone in his hand. It was warm again, very faint, like a heartbeat. He knew what he needed to do. He climbed on top of the old fountain in the middle of the square and called out, "Everyone, please listen." The villagers stopped what they were doing and looked up. Some looked annoyed, some curious. The mayor crossed his arms and frowned. Leo took a deep breath. His voice trembled at first, but then grew stronger. "I know we're all tired," Leo began. "The storm took many things from us, our homes, our work, maybe even our courage." He looked around at the faces, the baker, the teacher, the farmer, the children. But it didn't take everything, because one thing still lives here, inside all of us. He held up the dreamstone. It caught the sunlight and flickered faintly, like a small star. "This stone isn't magic. It never was. It's just a reminder to dream. Dreams don't stop the rain, but they help us find the rainbow. Dreams don't build houses, but they give us the will to start again. Dreams make us believe that tomorrow can be better, and that's where real strength comes from." A quiet murmur spread through the crowd. Miss June's eyes filled with tears. Mr. Oliver, the baker, nodded slowly. Mr. Thomas smiled faintly. Leo continued, "We can rebuild Marydale. We can make it even more beautiful than before. Not just with bricks or wood, but with our dreams." He lifted the stone high. For a moment, everyone was silent. Then, one by one, people began to smile. Someone clapped, then another. Soon, the whole village was cheering. The days that followed were filled with energy. Everyone worked together. Mr. Oliver rebuilt his bakery and made special bread shaped like suns and stars. He called it dream bread. Miss June painted bright pictures with her students on the school walls, showing the storm and the sunrise after it. Mr. Thomas planted colorful flowers around the fields. so that even when the crops were gone, beauty would still remain. And Leo, he helped everywhere. He carried wood, fetched water, and told stories to cheer people up. Every evening, he placed the dream stone on the fountain in the square. It glowed brighter each day, as if the whole village's hope was flowing into it. One afternoon, the mayor came to Leo. He looked tired, but there was kindness in his eyes. "Leo," he said softly, "I was wrong." Leo looked surprised. "Wrong?" "Yes," the mayor said. "I thought dreams were foolish, but I see now that without them, we have no reason to work at all. You reminded us of something important." He placed a hand on Leo's shoulder. "Thank you." Leo smiled. "It wasn't just me, sir. Everyone dreamed together." The mayor nodded. "Then let's keep dreaming together." A few weeks later, the village held a celebration. They called it the Festival of Dreams. Lanterns hung from trees, music filled the air, people laughed and danced under the stars. At the center of the square stood the old fountain, and on top of it, the glowing dreamstone. Its light was strong now, shining like a tiny sun. Elder Finn, the old storyteller, appeared quietly among the crowd. Leo ran to him in joy. "Elder Finn, you came back!" The old man smiled gently. "I never left, Leo. I was here, in your heart, and in every dream you helped awaken." Leo laughed. "The dreamstone really worked." Elder Finn shook his head with a twinkle in his eyes. "No, my boy, you worked. The stone only reminded you of what was already inside." Leo looked up at the sky, filled with lanterns floating higher and higher. They looked like stars coming down to dance with the people of Merrydale. He whispered, "I think the village will never forget to dream again." Elder Finn nodded. "As long as there is one heart that dares to dream, the light will never fade." Years later, Merrydale became famous as the Village of Dreams. Travelers came from far away to see its colorful houses, cheerful people, and endless creativity. Every year, they held the Festival of Dreams, and a small boy or girl would be chosen to hold the glowing stone and make a wish for the village. And on quiet nights, when the wind was soft and the moon was bright, some say they could still hear the voice of Elder Finn whispering, "Dream on, Merrydale, dream on." And so, dear friends, the village of Merrydale learned to dream again. The storm passed, the light returned, and the people discovered that real magic lives inside every heart that dares to hope. Leo's story reminds us all, dreams are not just for sleeping. They are the seeds of a brighter tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening to The Little Village That Forgot to Dream. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who needs a little bit of hope today. And don't forget, you can find more heartwarming and simple English stories right here every week. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep shining.